Good evening, everyone. This is High Point Mayor Pro Tem Michael Holmes calling to order our July 15th meeting of High Point City Council. With me in chambers today are all members of council, minus our mayor, who is away on official business, and city management. Our first item up is the adoption of our agenda, and at this time, I would ask if there are any members of council who wish to remove an item from the agenda for discussion. All right, hearing none, I will make a motion to adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilwoman McKeever. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Next up, we'll have everyone stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, at this time, we have a few proclamations that we would like to read. First up is proclamation recognizing the 115th anniversary of the High Point Elks Lodge. If Kevin Randall, President, could come down at this time, if you would go to our podium here. I'm going to read the proclamation, then we're going to come down and we'll get all the Elks to take a great picture. If you want to make any comments about the Elks Lodge after our proclamation, please feel free. And the proclamation reads, whereas on the 115th anniversary of the establishment of the High Point Elks Lodge, number 1155, of the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks, we celebrate the order and our High Point Elks Lodge commitment to selflessly serving others in need in our great community. And whereas, as one of the oldest nonprofit organizations in High Point, the High Point Elks Lodge, number 1155, was chartered in High Point on July 15th, 1909, with the purchase of a 3-story house on Broad Street that faced the downtown tracks. And whereas the current lodge building at 700 Old Mill Road was established in 1980 and has grown to over 600 members, making it the 5th largest Elks Lodge out of 32 lodges with over 10,000 members in the state of North Carolina. And whereas dedicated to charity, justice, and patriotism, the High Point Elks, over the course of the history of the lodge, has dispersed more than $1 million in cash, goods, and services to our local veterans, the disadvantaged, and handicapped, and to patriotic and civic programs. And whereas the High Point Elks Lodge has contributed to our local community through programs for building strong communities, donations to local nonprofit organizations, programs for our veterans and homeless, drug awareness program activities, and support of Camp Carefree in Stokesdale. And whereas for more than a century, the Elks have pledged, so long as there are veterans, the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Elks will never forget them. The Elks fulfill this promise in visiting and providing social events and friendship to veterans in our community. And whereas the High Point Elks provide financial opportunities for our Elks and community families through the Legacy and Most Valuable Student Scholarships and the Emergency Assistance Fund for college-bound students. And whereas we are proud that our High Point Elks Lodge had the first state president of the North Carolina State Association, J.C. Smith, in 1939, and has had 4 state presidents, including the first female state president of the State Association, Sherry Driscoll, in 2019. Additionally, we are proud of current and past city council members of our High Point Elks Lodge, and whereas our High Point Elks are committed to future investment through volunteerism, financial support, and unending commitment to our veterans and youth of our community. Therefore, be it resolved on behalf of our Mayor, Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of High Point, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim July 15, 2024, the High Point Elks Lodge 115th Anniversary Day in the city of High Point. Congratulations. If I could get all the Elks. I'll scoot down just a little bit this way if you can. One, two, three. All right. And one. And 1, 2, 3.
Sure. So I'll just be relatively brief. Thank you for the proclamation on behalf of the over 600 members of the High Point Elks Lodge number 1155 of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks. We thank you for this proclamation. We look forward to many, many, many more years of supporting our community, supporting our veterans, and giving back to those who are in need. Thank you again.
I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I had no idea the depth of work that the Elks Lodge has undertaken in our community. It's a great education for me. You guys are on the front lines, fighting the good fight, addressing things at the ground level. And I really appreciate the hard work, and it's a great organization. All right, our next proclamation is Parks and Recs Month, and Lee Tillery. Oh, there he is. All right. All right, our proclamation reads, whereas High Point's parks and recreation programs, events, and facilities are fundamentally important to the health and wellness of our citizens, enriching the lives of our youth, families, older adults, and those with mental or physical disabilities. And whereas this year's Parks and Recreation Month theme, Where You Belong, celebrates the many ways parks and recreation departments create a sense of community by providing welcoming and inclusive programs and events and safe, accessible space to build meaningful connections. And whereas parks and recreation programs and events increase public engagement among citizens, promote volunteerism, and build strong partnerships with other community organizations. And whereas High Point's abundance of local parks, trails, greenways, and natural recreation areas help sustain and preserve the ecological resources of our community, providing many places for children and adults to spend time outdoors. And whereas parks and recreation programs, events, and facilities increase a community's economic prosperity through the attraction and retention of business, increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, and crime reduction. And whereas the City of High Point recognized that High Point Parks and Recreation enhances this community's quality of life in accordance with this mission by its commitment to providing opportunities through innovative program, parks, and facilities for present and future generations. Now, therefore, on behalf of our Mayor Cyril Jefferson, Mayor of High Point, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month in the City of High Point, North Carolina.
Did Lee request that many photos?
What was that, Brett?
Did Lee request that many photos?
Mayor Pro Tem, before they possibly leave, I've been a proud member of the Elks Lodge for 32 years, and they are a phenomenal local and national organization. I'm proud to be a member. But I've been up here, very blessed to be up here for a few years too, and I don't expect they're going to stay for the whole meeting. So I just wanted to echo my thoughts and thanks for all of the years and continued years, for the many things that were mentioned in your proclamation and those that were not mentioned. So thanks to all of you.
Thank you very much, Councilman Moore. At this time, we will have our public comment period. Public comment period is normally held on the first regular meeting of the month. Obviously, we had Independence Day, so we did not have a meeting in the 1st of July, so we will now have public comment this period. Persons who have signed the register to speak shall be taken in the order in which they listed. Others who wish to speak and have not signed will be taken after those who have registered. Persons addressing City Council are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Citizens will be asked to come to the podium, state their name and address and the subjects on which they will comment. If a large number of people are present to register concerns about the same subject, it's suggested that they might be acknowledged as a unified group while designating a speaker covers the variance point. This helps to avoid repetition while giving an opportunity for people present with the same concerns to be recognized. We had a few folks signed up. At this time, we will have J.D. Corns. If you would come down to the podium, state your name and your address, please.
My name is what? Address. Jerry Corns, 702 Oakview Road, High Point.
Thank you.
I'd like to enter something into the register if I could. Got some,
Would you please give that to the clerk?
can you
please?
give that to the mayor and then pass those out? Thank you. It pertains to the planned new sidewalk on James Road and High Point between Oakview Road and the University Parkway. It's recently come to light of plans of the city of High Point to build another sidewalk on James Road in the Oakview neighborhood. Many years ago, the city of High Point initiated a similar effort to build a new sidewalk across from the existing sidewalk on James Road. There's already a sidewalk there. Years ago, myself, my attorney, and numerous City of High Point officials with the Transportation Department met at the store. This is at the corner of Oakview and James Road, across from Oakview Elementary. We met at the store parking lot, where the outcome of this meeting by the city and those officials was to cancel their effort to build a new sidewalk. The city and those city officials with the Transportation Department decided to cancel the new sidewalk on James Road because there's already one there. It's been there for years. Mr. Corn's attorney was assured that a new sidewalk would not be built on James Road. My attorney was assured that a new sidewalk would not be built on James Road because there's already a sidewalk there. We're asking for the City of High Point to withdraw their most recent effort to build another sidewalk on James Road and initiate a letter to Mr. Corns to confirm the cancellation of any plans to build a new sidewalk on James Road in the Oakview neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corns. Next up, we have Winona Merritt. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Winona Merritt, 1114 Burgess Drive. Firstly, on behalf of the Climate Action Task Force of the Baha'i Faith Community in High Point, we want to thank and congratulate you on the second award for us as All-American City. Thank you for seeking to make this a just and compassionate city. Our questions concern extreme heat. Last month, EMS responded to 55 heat-related calls, more than double the 23 last year in June. And climate experts say we face each coming year hotter than the last. Is our population paying attention? Are added measures needed here to raise awareness to the danger? At public comments in June, a sewer worker requested a needed pay raise. Does his department also need heat mitigation plans and enforceable policies in place? His fellow city worker was in my yard preparing to replace the water meter in May at the beginning of this Piedmont heat season that runs till September, or through into September. That gentleman was likely out here today in this dangerous temperature peak. Is he being protected? Let's suppose we are outdoor employees for the city. Was drinking water available today? Enough breaks to cool in the shade? They might be, I don't know. And is his house cool when he goes home? What if he can't afford to rent a place with AC and no money for a fan for elderly mother, or pregnant wife, or toddler? Or for dad who works in a hot factory, restless sleep in the hot evenings, already has diabetes and heart disease, and his lifespan is getting shorter and shorter because he's taking heat-sensitive meds. Apparently, unenforced OSHA guidelines are only heeded by compassionate employers. My neighbor works in a local factory where there's no AC, and the machines generate 90-degree heat. A window fan circulates today's hotter outdoor air into the 90-degree indoor air. Can he be as productive as he usually can be with that kind of heat? What about the playing field? Young athletes' bones growing faster than their lungs and hearts, practicing in relentless sun. They train to be strong men and women. Do they tell coach if they can't breathe or they feel faint? Should they be on that hot field at all? By the way, our city public fields close after rainstorms. Do they also do so for extreme heat?
Ms. Merritt, your 3 minutes, time's up.
I have one more sentence.
Please, finish your sentence.
Okay. If High Point does not have an extreme heat plan yet, we urge you to create one, and there's lots of resources to help. Many cities like Asheville have done that, and I have some handout sheets that I hope somehow can get to you and others.
Yeah, if you could please give those to the clerk.
All right. And Baha'u'llah's Baha'i Faith community thanks you for your efforts to keep us safe and healthy.
Thank you, Ms. Merritt. Next up, we have Kirby Hurd. If you would come forward, state your name and address, please.
Do I need to give my specific house number?
Yes.
Kirby Hurd, 333 East Ferris. Speaking on housing, we know there's a housing crisis in general and an affordable housing crisis specifically. In the area which I live, I walk my dogs regularly, and I spent some time today between the GIS service online and what I've noticed when I walk and who I've asked when I see, mostly cleaners. There are at least 18 rental Airbnbs within the 12-block area around my home. The entire 1,000 block of Johnson Street is empty because they're all rental properties, short-term rental properties. I asked the the housing code department about any restrictions or codes, and I was told that, well, short-term rentals have always been an issue in this town because of furniture market. I get that. 3 of these places are full-time residents, and they're not included in my count of 18. 2 of them only rent at furniture market. I'm fine with that. I have a problem with all these empty homes families are unable to buy them. And they're being bought by LLCs, many of which are not even in High Point, many more of which are not even in the state of North Carolina. Now, granted, they pay their taxes, they pay somebody to keep their yard clean, they clean the house. I appreciate that. Rental people can be kind of iffy, but, there's 2 on Bridges, and they're full-time, they're for long-term, they're outside of the 1-mile radius that the college doesn't want students to rent in, and so it seems like some people are able to skirt that rule and earn more money and keep people from owning a home. Many of the rentals are now geared towards HPU community, and Because of where I live, I am so tired of that university being serviced by me and my city and not getting anything back from it. You know, their students eat on campus. They have thousands of restaurants and movie theaters, not thousands, but lots. We can't go there. We can't even drive on campus unless we're invited at Christmas time to look. And other cities, you can do that. Anyway, I just think that all these out-of-town people are also a really good reason to have a stop sign at Ferris and Hamilton like we've requested that isn't being done. There's thousands of crashes there. I just think there's a lot of things that are rolled into this issue, and that's where I wanted to begin today.
All right, thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hurd. Thank you. There's no other signees at this time. If there's anyone else who would like to speak during our public comment meeting, period, please come forward now and state your name and address for the record. All right. Seeing none, all right, we will move on with our agenda. At this time, we have the adoption of our consent agenda. Is there a motion to adopt our consent agenda?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Morris, second by Councilman Andrew. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right, we will now move on to our general business agenda at this point. First up, we have a consideration of amendments for our fair housing ordinance. This is the second reading. Are there any questions from council at this time? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Harmon, seconded by Councilwoman Cook. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none? I'm sorry?
So this is second reading, but we're not formally approving it yet. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, the second reading, and then it sounds as if there's a motion on the floor to approve the amendment as presented.
So, it has been motioned for approval, it has been seconded. And so after this second reading, if this vote is taken and passes, then the ordinance will be adopted.
During the last reading, I know that we're largely copying what from HUD, but Section 4, TAC 3, TAC 20, Bravo 1, giving subpoena power and civil penalty power to the director, who's basically an unelected official. I'm concerned, I'm wondering, what are we opening ourselves up to this? That was one of the things that made me nervous.
Certainly. Managing Director Jerron Hollis is going to come forward to answer any questions that we may have. Councilman Andrews.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, Jerron Hollis. The question about subpoena power, the short answer to that is, as part of the substantial equivalent process that's required by HUD, if you look at other levels of agency that are currently observing this, be it the state or the federal, you do have that same requirement. That's a provision that is rarely used, but it is a tool that's in the box in case that it needs to be used. So there aren't subpoenas with every particular case that comes up, but there are times when that provision, that authority is necessary. And as part of the process that we're in with the substantial equivalence, that is one of the pieces, is that we mirror our provision in line with what the organization HUD requires. So that's why it's in there.
Very good. And will council have oversight on this process?
There will not be oversight by council on the process. This process is a process that somewhat mirrors employment law. So what happens is, as cases come in, there is a collaboration with our legal department, there's case review, and there's monitoring by HUD. So this is a function that is closely aligned with the processes that are currently in place now for housing providers, but for High Point residents, just at the state level. So we're just mimicking that. So this is an identical process, so that the process of discussion between the complainant and the provider, that's not going to be a play-by-play that's open to the public. That's going to be a closed, confidential process. The results at the end will be reported out, and that will be for public consumption.
Thank you.
If I may?
Please.
Mr. Hollis, while you're up there, as a refresher for me, this is an ordinance that has been asked for several years going back. Is that correct?
There have been discussions for this ordinance for several years, yes.
And it's come before these councils for a few times, and a couple times it didn't pass. Is that correct?
This came, since I've been here, it's come to council before and didn't pass.
Okay. Well, if my memory's correct, and I just want to make sure, I've asked, for clarification, I'm in a real estate business, and I had some problems with this all along too, because I see it as another thing where we've looked at it and we said, well, Greensboro does it and Wilmington or whoever. We're always the one right underneath the size city who's doing something and we feel like we need to mimic it. I'm all for fair housing. I hope it doesn't get off on the skews. And many of the realtors that I'm friends with and liaison to have supported this in the past when I didn't. And I've asked and talked to many of them, so I will be supporting it this time, but I will ask of our staff, because of the numbers and the research that were done on it, that we are allowed to be reported back to on a regular basis as how this is going, so it doesn't just go behind us and become a department that's not efficient and doing what it's doing. So I appreciate all your hard work on it. I understand the intent behind it. I have some concerns about it.
Thank you, Councilman Moore. Any other questions for Director Hollis? All right, there is a motion and a second on the floor. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion passes. Thank you, Director Hollis. We have several public hearing requests. We will begin with item 2024-287, public hearing, CNC Industries. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and Peter Bishop, Director of EDC, will introduce our applicant.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Good evening to you all. I'm Peter Bishop, your Director of Economic Development for the City of High Point. I'm here with ED Project Manager Brantley Kraft here in the crowd as well to bring you this proposed industrial project for consideration. The company here is CNC Industries. They are a manufacturer, packager, and distributor of personal care products and pharmaceuticals. The company is based in Miami, Florida. And with us here in council chambers tonight is Andy Boutros, the CEO of CNC Industries, and he will be up to share some information and slides with you shortly. CNC Industries is considering High Point along with other locations across the southeast U.S., including South Carolina and Tennessee, for this operation. Should this project move forward and council move forward with this incentive package, this company would purchase a 105,000 square foot building, vacant building at 2103 Brentwood Street. They would invest $6.3 million in personal property and machinery and equipment in this facility, as well as do significant renovations to the building to meet their industry need. The company would create 108 new jobs at this location on Brentwood Street with an average compensation package of just under $42,000. In addition to this local incentive package, High Point Economic Development is working closely with the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina, or EDPNC, and the North Carolina Department of Commerce on two other incentive packages. One, a building reuse grant through the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and one is a One North Carolina Fund incentive. The building reuse grant is, we are pretty familiar with this project, and that program run through the Department of Commerce does require a resolution of support from the City Council, as the city is the applicant. So that is one of their requests for this agenda item. And secondly, the One North Carolina Fund is a competitive grant that's awarded by the Governor of North Carolina, and that determination is yet to be made. So this is still an active and competitive project. For this project, the High Point EDC recommends City Council award $100,000 in cash incentives under the Industrial Incentive Policy to encourage this company to locate in High Point. The source of that funding would be the Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is funded by the general and electric revenues. And I will note that this incentive package that you would award would cover matching requirements for both the Building Reuse Grant Program and the One North Carolina Grant Program, so no additional allocations would need to be made by this council for us to successfully apply and for the company to successfully receive those dollars. So the EDC's request to City Council this evening would be first to authorize $100,000 in performance-based incentives for the CNC Industries project. Two, to approve a resolution in support of the city's application for the Building Reuse Grant Program for a $150,000 award for CNC Industries. And then finally, to authorize Madam Manager to execute a performance agreement with the company containing investment and employment benchmarks for the company to achieve, along with a schedule for payment and benchmarks to meet for these incentives. And at this time, I will invite Mr. Andy Boutros to come up and share some slides and information about CNC Industries.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Andy Boutros. I'm President CEO of CNC Industries. We are a family-owned, family-run company. And we've been operational in South Florida for 14 years. Our goal is to open up a second manufacturing plant and to become our primary manufacturing plant outside of Florida. We've visited many cities, as Peter mentioned, looking for opportunities for our company, but also where we can make a difference in our great nation. I'm not sure how to use this. Where do I point this?
You got it.
Wrong button? Oh, okay. So, quick company overview. As I said, we're 14 years into the contract manufacturing industry. We are an FDA-certified facility for personal care and over-the-counter drugs. We are also a minority-owned company. I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti. And all of my family as well. We specialize in private label and contract manufacturing, and we also do third-party logistics. Our focus with this building will be mainly on the personal care, private label and manufacturing, and third-party logistics. So we meet all the necessary certifications for the industry that we're in. We're CGMP certified. It's important for us, there's only one way to do things, it's the right way. So our vision when we started is to deliver products and services with efficiency and provide exceptional value to the customer. And this is what we've been doing since we started. Our commitment is to offer top-notch services while contributing responsibly to society and to the environment. Our goal for High Point, as Peter mentioned, is we're estimating about 108 direct jobs, and there will be several indirect jobs that will be supporting the manufacturing facility as well. Our total investment will exceed $14 million. That includes the building, plus the renovations, plus the equipment, plus everything within the next 5 years, and that's what our estimations are. So our goal is to purchase a building that requires some renovation that's been closed, and the High Point building meets that very well. We're also very happy with, I have to say, everybody we've met in the city. Very cordial, very polite, everybody's here to help, and I want to thank the city of High Point for that. So what do we do? We're end-to-end. We do everything from start to finish. We formulate new formulations of products, then we test it, obviously. We do bulk mixing, we fill the bottles, we put it in retail-ready packaging, we store it, and then we distribute it around the United States. And we have a rigorous quality system which we go through for all the products that we create. Contract manufacturing and private labeling, what does that mean? We don't have any brands of our own. Companies who are looking for products, we would manufacture it for them. Companies who have their own formulations, we would create that for them as well. Or we have our standard formulas that we can create to provide to the customers that are looking for that type of product. So we make shampoos, lotions, creams, hair care products, skin care products, amongst many other products that fall into those categories. Third-party logistics, we warehouse everything that we manufacture for our customers, and this is one of a great location to distribute around the United States with having the I-85, I-40, I-95 all around here, and the 500-mile radius is also excellent to be able to reach from New York to Jacksonville and over to Nashville. So, in short, contract filling, private label manufacturing, custom formulating, batching, procurement, kitting, packaging, fulfillment services, consulting services, third-party logistics, storage. We're going to be providing jobs in every one of these categories. We're not looking to just one group of people. We're looking to see how we can get formulators here, warehouse people, manufacturing. It breaks my heart. We've visited probably 60 facilities between Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina, and it breaks my heart every time I see one of them. All these manufacturing facilities that those jobs no longer exist. So for me, I feel it's a privilege to be able to see if we can build more and more manufacturing jobs in this country.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, we really like High Point, and it's on the top of our list of the places to be. And we want to see this work. We want to work with the city. We want to give back to the community, and we want to build a long-term relationship with the city and to see how we can grow together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boutros. At this time, we will have comments. We didn't have anyone sign up to speak on this particular issue, but if there's anyone in the audience who would like to speak for or against this, please come forward, state your name and address, and your comments. All right. Seeing none, at this time, any questions from members of council for our applicant?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to make a few comments because I can be, I think, sometimes a tough customer when it comes to these types of things, but it checks so many boxes for me to reuse a facility that's been closed down.
Absolutely.
To offer a lot of different jobs and the whole organization. I think that that's a wonderful opportunity for people who are looking to start a new career or perhaps have a second career. To make a move to come back to High Point to work. We have too many people traveling outside of our city for work, and so I'd like to see people reduce that commute and have some empowerment. The only box that doesn't check for me is I would like to see the wages be higher, but I think the investment and the type of ethos that you have around your company and how you seem to think about things hopefully will provide people with a safe and secure and emotionally, abundant work experience. And we hope to see those wages grow in the coming years.
It will come.
Thank you. I would also like to add, your choice of location was big for me. The Brentwood area, seeing that particular area and the impact of job loss and occupational loss over the years, having that come back. I do have one question. You said that you were looking to make this your primary manufacturing facility. Will you be closing your facility in Florida and moving that work here?
At this moment, We're not closing our facility, we're expanding. But our facility in South Florida is 40,000 square feet.
Sure.
This is almost 110,000 square feet, and this location is more ideal for logistics. So this is why we're considering to make this our primary manufacturing location. We're not trying to take jobs away from people in Florida, we're trying to create more jobs.
Fantastic. Any other questions?
I just make a comment, I'm sorry. So I just want to thank you for looking and considering High Point, and it's a fabulous city, and we're on the rise. That is an area that has had some losses, job losses and stuff, so I represent that area, and would love for you to be a part of High Point, so thank you for considering High Point.
Thank you so much.
Forgive me for missing it, but where did you say you were from, your family?
I'm from Port-au-Prince, Haiti.
Okay.
We moved here after the earthquake. We lost everything and had to reinvent ourselves. And South Florida was the closest area to get
Well,
to.
welcome, and there's no better place to do that in the United States of America. But as an older person up here, and they may get a giggle out of this, but to hear somebody from your background who hasn't been here that long, who emphasizes the importance of manufacturing and creating, yeah, I'm very thankful that you're considering High Point.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other comments, I will close the public hearing at this time and entertain a motion for approval. There's a motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Peters. Any discussion on the item, on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Mr. Boutros, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. At this time, we'll have item 2024-287, public hearing regarding a request, 288, public hearing regarding a request from Triad Expeditors Incorporated. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and Peter Bishop, Director of EDC, will be back with us to introduce our applicant.
Thank you again, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. 2 for 1 tonight, so certainly excited to be here again to support another project for High Point. Triad Expeditors is the parent company of 3 different companies, so this is sort of a 3 for 1 here, but those 3 firms are College Hunks Moving, Carolina Boy Portable Storage, and Dry Medic. Triad Expeditors is currently based in a lease space in Greensboro and is going to develop and own their own property here in High Point. And with us here tonight in council chambers is Anthony Oman, the owner of Triad Expeditors. Mr. Oman will be available to answer any questions for council in a few moments when we're finished, although he does not have any slides this evening. So Triad Expeditors is considering High Point as the home base for these 3 companies in a newly constructed headquarters, which will be a combination office warehouse and fleet yard at 1806 Wade Place in between Brentwood Street and New Street. This project would invest over $700,000 in its first phase, and these 3 companies will be creating 66 new jobs in the city of High Point with an average wage of over $45,000 each. For this project, the High Point Economic Development Group and Department recommends the consideration of up to $37,126 in cash grant incentives under the city's industrial incentive policy to encourage this company to locate in High Point. The source of that funding, as I mentioned, would be the city's Economic Development Incentive Fund, which is funded by general fund and electric revenues. And I will note, as was discussed in the previous project and certainly applicable to this project, that this location is in the East Green Drive targeted area, an area identified by council and the department in need of additional investment and support. So to mayor and council, it is the recommendation of the High Point Economic Development Department to authorize $37,126 in performance-based incentives for this project, and 2, to authorize the city manager to execute a performance agreement with the company containing investment and employment benchmarks for Triad Expeditors to achieve, along with a schedule for the payment of such financial incentives. The company does expect to make a decision on this investment in the next 30 to 60 days, and certainly myself and Mr. Alman are available for any council questions at this time.
At this time, if the applicant is available, we did have one person, we did not have anyone to sign up to speak for this particular item, and I will open it up to council for any questions that they may have for Peter or the applicant.
I have a question for the applicant. Welcome, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
How long have you been in Greensboro?
13 years.
And did you start there?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And currently reside there?
I'm from Asheboro, North Carolina.
Well, we won't hold that against you. Very good.
If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for or against this item, would you please come forward now, state your name and address, and make your comments? Okay, hearing none, at this time, I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Peters, second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes.
And if I may make a comment, Mayor Pruitt, that is actually my ward, Ward 2, so we would love to have you and your business in High Point. Not trying to steal them away from Asheboro, but we would love to have you in High Point. So thank you so much for
I appreciate it,
considering.
thank you.
And Councilman Johnson, I'd like to second that. I think both of these projects that we've seen tonight and the areas in which
Yes.
that we are seeing investment is a huge credit to our EDC and our staff and our city's goal of spreading economic prosperity across the city. So welcome, and it's a fantastic opportunity for this area of High Point that's been severely impacted.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you. All right.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem
Next
and
item
Council.
up, we have a public hearing regarding Sultani Properties. That's item 2024-273. And at this time, I will open the public hearing, and Herb Shannon, Senior Planner, please come forward, please.
Yes, Council Herb Shannon, Senior Planner with the Planning Department. I will provide a brief summary. This is a request to annex a 1.29 acre parcel in the central portion of the city. The site is located along Brentwood Street, about 340 feet south of Running Cedar Trail, which is the entrance to the Williams Grove subdivision. The applicant's requesting annexation to have access to city utilities, specifically a sewer line that runs along Deeper Road. Just for the public, the area that's highlighted in white on the map, those are lands that are already within the High Point corporate limits. Those areas in gray are unincorporated areas that are still in unincorporated Guilford County. However, Guilford County has granted the city of High Point extraterritorial jurisdiction for this area that allows the city to enforce the city zoning and for the city to issue building permits in this area. This site is currently developed with an existing single-family home. The applicant desires to disconnect from their older septic system and connect to the city sewer line. This represents a logical progression of the city's annexation policy for this area. As you can see, the site is almost surrounded on three sides by the city corporate limits. It's within our ETJ area, and city service vehicles are already present in this area. Thus, staff is recommending approval of this application. Are there any questions at this time?
Any questions for Mr. Shannon? All right. We did not have anyone to sign up to speak for or against that, but the floor is open for anyone in our audience who wishes to speak for or against this item. Please come forward, state your name and address, and make your comments, please. All right, hearing none at this time, I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilman Andrew. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. Next up, we have item 2024-276, public hearing regarding Francis Marshall and Joan Barron's annexation. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and Herb Shannon, Senior Planner, will be with us.
Yes, this agenda item, annexation 2401 and zoning map amendment 2413, both pertain to the same tract of land, a 24.9 acre tract of land at the northeast corner of the intersection of Willowdale Road and Southwest School Road. Staff will provide a combined presentation. However, you will have to vote on each item separately. The applicant is requesting annexation into the city to support development of a townhome subdivision. This site is within the city's designated planning area, which extends northward all the way up to I-40. For this annexation proposal, a 136 units townhome subdivision is being proposed. This is a general location of the site in the northern central portion of the city along the north side of Willowdale Road. Once again, those areas highlighted in white are lands that have already been annexed within the city's corporate limits. Those lands highlighted in gray are still in unincorporated Guilford County. There have been a number of annexations and zoning approvals in this general area since the 1990s that allow a mixture of single-family, twin home, and townhome developments. This request represents a logical progression of the city's annexation policy for this area. As you can see, it abuts the city limits to the east and west. It's kind of sandwiched in between. This is an infill type situation and appropriate as the site is surrounded on two sides by the existing corporate limits. City services are already present in this area where service vehicles are already using Willowdale Road to access abutting residential subdivisions to the west. So it's not a situation where our vehicles are going beyond where they're already traveling. And there's no extension of utilities. A sewer line runs along that creek that bisects the site, and there's already a water main that runs along Willowdale Road, so there's no extensions of utilities required. Thus, staff is supporting this annexation site. I would also note that abutting subdivision to the east, where you have Thistleberry Road, you also have public water and sewer that's stubbed into the eastern portion of that site from that previously developed subdivision. In regard to the zoning of this request, the applicant is requesting to establish City of High Point zoning is currently zoned agricultural in Guilford County. They're requesting to establish a conditional zoning residential multifamily 16 development to support a townhome development. In conjunction with their zoning request, they've submitted a conditional zoning document that's part of your staff report. The summary of those conditions is restricting the number of attached townhome units, higher setback standards to the north at Tract 2 north of the stream, where the site may abut single-family homes if any multifamily developments are proposed, higher street yard landscaping, and provision for a public street stub to the north for possible future extension. This application was submitted prior to the adoption of our current comprehensive plan. Staff began discussions with the applicant in December, January of this year, and they turned in their application in March. But we are in somewhat of a transition period between the former land use plan and this current plan. So in our staff report, staff evaluated it both under the former plan and the current plan. Under the current land use plan, which was in effect until May, in which this application was submitted under, this area is designated as medium density residential, which supports a wide variety of residential development between 8 and 16 units per acre. Under the High Point 2045 plan, this area is designated as suburban neighborhood, which also supports a wide variety of uses. That's primarily for a single-family development up to 3 to 7 units per acre. But on the outer edges of residential subdivisions along major streets, townhome developments are supported. Thus, this request is consistent with both the 2000 land use plan and the current land use plan. We also looked at several of the policies. This request meets many of those policies as far as requiring street connection. They're going to connect through that abutting townhome development to the east. The policy for providing a wide range of housing opportunities and supporting an urban growth pattern that occurs in an orderly fashion. The key scenario under the 2045 plan that we looked at was directing growth inward. While this site is in the northern portion of the city, it adds moderate density housing, also known as missing middle housing, which is a need identified by the plan. And this is an infill type situation where you're filling a gap between two subdivisions that have already developed in the city. Based upon the applicant's proposal, staff offers the following findings. As far as compatibility with the surrounding area, conditions offered by the applicant for higher setback standards for multifamily development will ensure compatibility to where you have single family north of this site. This is a copy of our color-coded zoning map. Staff has made a determination this is an appropriate zoning pattern for this area where you have already conditional zoning RM16 to the east. You have a planned development, which is a mixed-use development to the west of Cottesmore subdivision. And this is lined between two existing townhome developments. far as mitigating any impacts, this site is a transitional area. The land use policy changed in this area in 2017 where industrial uses were permitted all the way next to the Cottesmore subdivision. That policy changed to have some higher density development that can act as a buffer between the lower density residential to the west and the future industrial. So this is a transitional type site, and in those type situations, higher densities are supported. I would note that you do have agricultural zoning to the north, that's part of a nursery, and agricultural zoning to the south. That zoning to the south is going to always stay agricultural. That property owner in 1985 sold his development rights to the the United States Federal Transportation Department to put a radar facility there. And in reviewing that easement documents, the only thing they can do on that site is farm. They're required to clear cut it and keep it cut, and no new developments are permitted. That easement even went to the detail of saying they cannot do any expansion of their home except for a garage. And the Federal Aviation Association has rights over what the materials of the roof could be to make sure there's no interference with that radar system. So that land to the south, they've sold their development rights. It's always going to be somewhat of an agricultural use. In conclusion, staff is supporting this request based upon the conditions offered by the applicant. The request is compatible with the surrounding area and in conformance with adopted policy guidance documents. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this request at their June public hearing and recommended approval by a vote of 7-0. I would note for any conditional zoning request, along with your approval, the council must adopt a consistency and reasonableness statement. On page 2 of your cover memo is a statement that was staff prepared for the Planning and Zoning Commission, which they are forwarding to you to include in your recommendation of approval. That is a brief overview by staff of both the annexation and zoning requests. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
I have some. I sent an email to council members this morning because I'm not really truthfully keen on this annexation. I mean, I'm glad you, I guess, educated me about the agricultural district across the street because I thought that was, because it says voluntary and I've been reading and I'm still not, so I'm glad this is a conservation easement. But for me, this is still sprawl. I'm not sure how inward this really is because there's other areas around and they're incredibly vulnerable, you know, to be in multifamily or whatever. That puts pressure on the school system and all that sort of stuff. So I still have a lot of concerns about this area being extremely vulnerable to annexation. Because it's like once like the initial subdivision gets approved in these areas, well then the next one comes, it's like, well, it fits in because there's already one there, and all of a sudden you get sprawl. And that's the 2045 plan is sort of is encouraging us not to do that and have infill development. So I'm just not in favor of it, truthfully. So.
I'm sorry, please, go ahead,
I
Councilman.
just wanted to say that, so after that email, I did end up calling Councilmember Harmon, and I'm very appreciative of his concerns, because, you know, we worked so hard on that plan, the 2045 comprehensive plan, and I think the citizens are excited about it, staff's excited about it, and I know that things take a while to implement, but I hate for us to, like, not start focusing on that, and I don't know how quickly we can start. I know there's lots of different areas and lots of different zoning changes that are going to take place, but how can we alleviate some of that so that we're not continuing down a path that is one that we've already decided we don't want to continue to go, if that makes.
I would just note, far as future zoning application, this is the last application that was submitted that would be governed by the former land use plan. All future applications, whether reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council, will be solely reviewed under the High Point 2045 plan. As far as other aspects, I don't know if the director at some other point can provide you an update as to the steps we're taking for implementation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, please, go ahead.
My apologies. Councilman Andrew, I don't see this as a necessarily in violation of the 2045 plan, since it's a piece of property that's already surrounded by it. I mean, if it's out in the sticks or somewhere. So while I agree that we should, looking forward, we should try to conform to 2045, this one seems to do that, so I don't see a problem with the plan as presented.
Mr. Shannon, and I know you said that this was submitted before the adoption of 2045, and now if, say for instance, the annexation passes tonight, is there an opportunity to look at the 2045 implementation strategy and apply it to this piece of property?
I do not think so at this time. What staff has been doing in this transition period is letting applicants be aware of the new plan, where we see opportunities to encourage policies that meet that plan, suggest that to the applicant. But as we go through this transition period, as the development ordinance updated, I believe a lot more of those plan policies will not just be a suggestions, but a requirement as we proceed further along.
Any other comments from council? We do have a public hearing that's open. Go ahead, Councilman Moore.
Yeah, Councilman Moore, just for clarification, as we move forward and consider a vote here, will we be voting on each item separately?
Yes.
Yes.
Each one separately? Okay. I find it interesting. I appreciate the comments that you did take into consideration what the 2045 plan says, and it is a challenging issue. And I understand the sentiments. There's nobody in here that I think would like to be out in the country more than me. But there's the reality. It's in front of us. And it's interesting. We have two entrepreneurs asking to come to our town to fill in gaps of the missing middle. And we're presented with an opportunity to fill in a gap for the missing middle. So I will be in support of this.
Thank you. We do have a public hearing open. We didn't have anyone to sign up to speak on this item, but at this time, we will open the floor for anyone who wants to speak for or against this item. Please come forward, state your name and address, and make your comment, please. I'm sorry, gentleman on the outside, you were heading toward there first, and then we'll get you right afterwards.
Go ahead, sir. It's a presentation up here. Okay. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Holmes and members of the council. My name is Charlie Hall. My address is 1007 Battleground Avenue, Greensboro, North Carolina, 27408. Along with me tonight, we have David Michaels, who's the manager of land acquisition and development services, and Preslin Johnson, who assists David and I on a daily basis. Windsor Homes has been around since 2001, and during that time, we have had over 4,000 closings in the Triad area. Recently, in the city of High Point, we have developed Canner Creek, Willard Place, Copperfield Glen, and Amber Meadows. So a little bit about our zoning proposal. The 24.96 acre site we are proposing is located in Guilford County, and as Herb mentioned, needs to be annexed into the town of High Point. We did receive unanimous approval last month at the planning board meeting, and no one showed up in opposition of our request. We are requesting a zoning change from agricultural to CZ RM16 with the conditions set forth in the staff presentation. The current land use plan calls for medium-density residential, which allows up to 8 to 16 dwelling units per acre. We are proposing a 130 to 136 townhome unit site, which shows a density of a little over 5 units per acre. This is subject to change as the plans currently are preliminary and we have to go through the approval process. As Herb mentioned, the site is sandwiched in between Stonegate, which is a townhome community zoned RM16, and Cottesmore, which is a planned unit development consisting of single-family and townhomes. Our site is compatible with the surrounding neighborhoods, which allows for multiple uses. So for our product will be very similar to what you see above here. These are townhome products ranging from 1,618 square feet to 1,745 square feet
3-bedroom, 2.5 bath with an optional 4th bedroom, 1-car garage, as well as elements, decorative elements you see above, brick, wainscot, sometimes stone wainscot, shakes in the gables. For our development proposal, we have submitted a development sketch plan that has been reviewed by the City of High Point staff. The main entrance is located off Williard Dairy Road. We also show a connection to Thistleberry Drive and a future stub to the north. All streets will be public and built to the City of High Point standards. We will have public utilities. Water is currently up at Williard Dairy Road, and sewer is on site. We will install underground utilities, including electric, gas, and internet. Stormwater management will be required through applicable rules. Planning yards will be required per the ordinance. The HOA will manage the stormwater, mailboxes, signage, yards, and other common areas. This next slide, you'll see is a preliminary sketch plan of what we are proposing. You see the main entrance off of Williard Dairy Road. You have a stub to Thistleberry to the east, as well as a future stub to the north. And this plan shows 132 units, but this is obviously subject to change as we go through the approval process. So on May 20th, 2024, we held a citizen information meeting. We sent out 107 notices to neighbors in the surrounding area. 8 neighbors were present for the meeting. We also fielded multiple phone calls from those who could not make the meeting in person. During the phone calls and in-person meeting, a couple comments and concerns that came up were what were the exterior finishes of the houses going to be? Were there going to be sidewalks installed along Williard Dairy Road? Can the location of the entrance be flipped? What is the time frame of development and construction of homes? Is the City of High Point staff in favor of our proposal? What is the square footage of our units? Is there going to be a traffic light installed on Williard Dairy Road? In conclusion, we feel like this is a reasonable request. We received unanimous approval at the City of High Point Planning Board meeting last month. There was also no one who showed up in opposition of our request. This product has been well received in the market and provides compatible housing in this area. Our project at Copperfield Glen was the same product, and it did very well. It was well received in the community. At this time, I would appreciate your favorable vote, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Hall at this time?
Well, so I used to teach at Southwest High School, and I've been involved in a few community meetings, and there is a lot of stress around that school. It's overcrowded, and the school board has passed the plans, but it's going to be years out beyond when this project is complete, I'm sure, before the school is able to address the amount of students that live in that area and want to go to that school. So I'm just trying to balance that with, our need for housing in the area. And also with the 2045 plan, one of the things that we really want to emphasize is maintaining that green space. And as we continue, I was looking at those pictures, it's just clear cutting through these neighborhoods all right next to each other. And we heard earlier about the need for shade, the need for trees. So I have a few concerns about this. I do want to be sensitive to the need and desire of people that need this housing. My understanding is most of the housing in that area is higher end and is not necessarily reaching the middle class need for the workforce housing. So could you talk a little bit about, what the price point would be here? The questions and concerns that the community has expressed about why they're asking for that stoplight is because of the school bus traffic coming off of Southwest School Road, the number of students who walk to and from school, who have asked for help with crossing guards and lights and have not received that help so far. So if you could kind of speak to that.
Okay, so yeah, we are aware there's a, affordability issue right now, probably the worst it's been maybe ever. We are trying to, our product is, it's not really a starter home, but somewhere in the middle. We do have the same product that we're building in the Greensboro market currently. Depending on the square footage, the smaller unit is going for about $299, and the middle unit, which is the one that's like 1745 square feet, was going for about $330. But these things will not be, out of the ground until the next, 2 to 3 years. And who knows what the market will be doing at that time if, interest rates will come down and material prices come down, development prices come down. It all, depends on those factors. But we are trying to, keep affordability in mind when we build these and, try to give everyone a chance to live in their own home. As far as the traffic goes, I know there was not, traffic impact analysis required. There was no more than, I think it was 150 cars in and out during the peak AM and peak PM hours. So that was not required, and I know the City of High Point Traffic Department did not state that we needed a traffic light in the area, and I'm sure the DOT will also chime in on that, but per our discussions earlier, that they said it was not required along Weary Dairy Road. And as far as the green space goes, there is a stream buffer that we have to stay off of. There's also a Piedmont or Colonial natural gas line that we have to keep off of as well. So we will have a lot of green space in those areas that we need to stay off of. And then we also have buffers around our site to the west along the Cotsmore subdivision as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Hall? Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
Please come forward, state your name, address, and your comments, please.
My name is Brandon Renfro. My address is 615 Piedmont Crossing Drive. I'm a resident of that area. And my biggest concern is with the school. The reason why the houses are priced that way is because that's a pretty cherished school district to address that. But the saturation of the area, we already have 2 pretty substantial housing developments going in right there. You got the trellises that has not even touched half of their land they got back there. You have Willard Place that's, I don't know what the completion level is, but there's still homes for sale back there. But my biggest concern is with the school. Having a 7th grader, she is already in classrooms that are already crowded. So that's my biggest concern.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you for your comments on that, and not having young kids anymore, but I do remember that feeling. That's something in the city. Well, at one time, the city councils did have a say on our schools before we allowed them to be foolishly taken to Guilford County. So if you would understand that we're zoning to the land, and it's hard for us to speak to those issues, but we can certainly advocate and support you if you, or I can, I'm not going to speak for the rest of them, if you decide to talk to them, because that's something the school board should be addressing and on top of and knowing about in these developments.
I 100% agree with you, but my only argument is if you add this development, it just saturates it even more.
I totally understand it, and that's a predicament that we put in as we try to grow a city and keep the costs down and everything else. It's a real challenge.
Yeah, I would also like to add, when we're talking about housing affordability, housing stock matters. It's a scarcity issue. If we don't have units, then the cost of those units are higher. The more units that we're able to produce, the more we're able to bring down and produce affordability. So it is a tightrope that we walk, but our goal is to, as Councilman Moore said, to grow the city, provide adequate and safe housing for our residents, and also give entrepreneurs a chance to make the most of their investment. So please come forward. State your name and address and your comment, please.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem and members of council, my name is David Michaels. I am, address is 1007 Battleground Avenue in Greensboro, associate with Mr. Hall. Just to add a couple of points, and Charlie did a great job, and certainly appreciate the job that staff does in presenting the case. This particular product is going to lend itself more to not having too many children present in the community. It's a townhouse. It can be an entry-level home for people to move into. They may have a small child or two, but typically it's an empty nester who's looking for that maintenance component that's going to go along with the homeowners association and the type of dwelling that you're providing. All the yards will be maintained around the townhomes. And so in our experience, we don't see a lot of children. So I think the impact to the school system is a little bit reduced with this particular product versus if it was a single-family home. And the gentleman mentioned Williard Place, which we are developing over on Barrow Road, right across from Southwest High School. And that's a much higher priced product. Those are small lots, but it has been very well received in the market. And so a little different character in terms of the product here. We will be required to do turn lanes on Willard Dairy Road, irregardless, I think, of the transportation impact, which wasn't required. But the DOT is still going to be looking, I think, for some turn lanes to happen out there, similar to the other developments that have happened around us. So we're fully aware of that, and we'll comply with whatever the DOT's requirements are for making those road improvements, which will help at least keep the flow of traffic moving. It will be an increase of traffic on Willard Dairy Road, but we are going to be doing things that will help alleviate that. So there is a tremendous need still in the market for housing at pretty much any price point, but the more that we can keep that price point down, I think we are serving more people, certainly who are in need of housing, want to get out of their own apartment situation and become a homeowner. And this has been a very well-received product in the market already in High Point and also in Greensboro, where we have a community going now that's very well received. So just a couple of points to add to Mr. Hall. I appreciate your consideration of our request, and if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any other comments or anyone else would like to speak for or against this item? All right, hearing none at this time, I will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second properly made. Any discussion on the item, on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Opposed? No.
That,
And that's for the annexation vote, the first.
yes,
right?
yes. That motion passes 6-2. All right, so we have item 2024-277. The Land Acquisition and Development Services Zoning Map Amendment 24-13. This time I will open the public hearing, and Senior Planner Herb Shannon will be with us. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All right, at this time, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this item? I know Mr. Hall spoke earlier. He was signed up for this particular item. If there's anything that you, all right. Anyone else in our, would like to speak for or against this item? All right, hearing none, at this time I will close the public hearing and I will entertain a motion. Please note that this vote for approval must include the approval of the consistency and reasonableness statement included in staff report. Do we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
The motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilwoman Peters. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
All right, motion passes 6-2. We have the opening of public hearing regarding the City of High Point text amendment. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and Samuel Hennett, our interim director, development director, will be presenting.
All right, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I think this is the third and final public hearing for the evening, so I know that we're all looking forward to that. First of all, again, my name is Sam Hennett. I'm the Interim Development Administrator for the City of High Point Planning and Development Department. Very glad to be here with you. I'm going to provide a very brief summary, and then I'll be available for questions and answers afterwards. Text Amendment 2401, which is what you see here before you, the outline here, is part of our regular assessment for improvement and clarification to the city's development ordinance. This is the 11th round of general amendments to the development ordinance since it was rewritten in 2017. The text amendment has been reviewed by city staff, the city attorney's office, and went to the Planning and Zoning Commission on June the 25th. The text amendment has 6 individual sections, which you see on your screen, and is included in the agenda packet. Section 1 updates the development ordinance to remove reference to the land use plan and community growth vision statement and replaces them with the newly adopted comprehensive plan in name only. Sections 2 through 4 remove information from the development ordinance that is also found in the rules of procedure for the Historic Preservation Commission, for Planning and Zoning, as well as the Board of Adjustment. And that is to avoid any duplication and potential conflicts between the two. Section 4 also changes various references of the word guidelines to reflect the word standards and updates the qualifications for membership on HPC. Both the standards and qualifications changes are in a direct response to Chapter 160D of the General Statutes, which was adopted by the General Assembly. Section 5 continues the changes from guidelines to standards and also provides that appeals of a COA, which is Certificate of Appropriateness, is made to the Superior Court instead of the Board of Adjustment. Section 6 amends the ordinance to maintain consistent wording and adds the newly created Washington Street Historic District to the development ordinance. At its June 25th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was some discussion on the change from guidelines to standards. This proposed change merely changes the name of the document, which is the Historic District Design Standards. Used to be guidelines, now it's standards, and replaces the term with standards. Of course, again, I want to certainly emphasize that. There are no changes being made to the Historic District Design Standards, the actual standards, by your action tonight. Simply the name of the document and replacing the term in the development ordinance from guidelines to standards. And again, that is based on North Carolina General Statutes. As required by state law, this proposed text amendment has been published twice in the High Point Enterprise. I will note that as well. That summarizes the 6 sections of the proposed text amendment. Text Amendment 2401 was recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission by a vote of 7-0, and also staff is recommending the approval once again tonight. With any adoption of a text amendment, council must adopt a consistency and reasonableness statement. Staff has provided such a statement in the staff report that can be used, if you wish, to approve this request. Staff is available for any questions, should you have any.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Hennett at this time?
I have a question.
Certainly.
Sam, first of all, you do such a great job, so thank you so much. So just kind of like the basic question, does this make it simpler? Does this make life simpler than before?
It does. It certainly simplifies things, absolutely.
All right,
Yes, ma'am.
All right. At this time, we do have opened a public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to speak for or against this item, please come forward, state your name, address, and please make your comment. Okay, hearing none at this time, I will close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion. And please note that any vote for approval must include the approval of the consistency and reasonableness statement included in the staff report. Do we have a motion for approval? Motion by Councilwoman Peters, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously. All right, folks, we've got some appointments to make. Item 2024-292, consideration of appointment to the Human Relations Commission. City Council is requested to consider the appointment of Alan Johnson to the Human Relations Commission, term effective immediately and expiring on November 1st, 2025. Is Mr. Johnson here?
No, but I was able to speak with him this week. This is my appointment, and I think he's overqualified. He has a lot of experience, and just as we were talking about how sometimes the work in the schools relates to the work in the city, even though we don't have jurisdiction, I think he will be an important voice to have on the Human Relations Committee, and he came highly recommended by multiple people, so I'm very excited about this.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Cook. Any other comments on this appointment? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Councilwoman Cook, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2024-293, consideration of appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission. City Council is requested to confirm the appointment of Sean Smith to the Historic Preservation Commission, term effective immediately and expiring on June 30th, 2026. Is Mr. Smith here?
Mrs. Smith.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I don't see her, she's not here.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on the appointment? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
I'd like to say something about
please.
it. So anyway, I just wanted to say she's a wonderful lady. She recently moved here from Virginia, but I was able to help her with the situation, and the gentleman right over there in transportation met me over at her house, and just a delightful lady, and she was very eager. She said, I'd love to be, participate in things in High Point. And so when I realized that I had this opening, I called her because I'd saved her, and we've become friends over the last year. And so I called her. I said, I would love for you to fill this position if you're interested. And so she did send in an application. And so I'm honored to recommend her. I think she'll do an amazing job, and I can't wait for all of y'all to get to know her.
Is that an official motion?
That's an official motion.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? Second. There's a motion and a second by Councilwoman Moore. Any discussion on the item? All right, hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. Item 2024-294, consideration of reappointments to the Theater Advisory Board. City Council is requested to consider the reappointments of Tom Blunt, Clay Fielding, Mary McInerney, and Edie Williams to the Theater Advisory Board with terms effective immediately and expiring on June 1st, 2027. Are any of those individuals with us tonight? All right. If they're not here, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Moore, second by Councilwoman Cook. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. I would like to say one of the coolest things about being a council member is the ability to engage our public and get them involved on boards and commissions. Prior to becoming a council member, I served on the CAC. It was a really great experience, really kind of paved the way for me to be able to understand what it would be like to serve on council. So it's a really great opportunity, and I think if you're out there listening and you have a desire to get involved in public service, boards and commissions are a great place to start. So highly recommended. All right, last item on our agenda, item 2024-295, consideration of reappointments to the Board of Adjustment. City Council is requested to confirm the reappointments of Deborah Davis and John Kennett, alternate member to the Board of Adjustments with term effective immediately and expiring on June 30th, 2027. Any of those people here? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Moore, seconded by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes. That was the last item on our agenda tonight. Does any members of council have anything that they would like to express to the public before we adjourn? If not, I would like to just say on Wednesday, we will be delivering the State of the City. with our chamber and the city of High Point. So please, if you're available to watch or listen, this is a great opportunity to hear about things that your city has been involved in. I will be there speaking. City Manager Logan Ford will be participating in a panel. So please, if you have the chance or the occasion to watch, please do. Any other items to come before council tonight? If not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?